Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Cyber Hero Adventure Show. I want to begin with a quick survey. After seeing that incredibly cool and exciting introduction, are you bummed out to see me just sort of sitting here? Well, I hope not, because it's not just me today. We have some incredibly great guests, and I'd like to introduce you to Kate Strachnyi. Hi, Kate.
Hello. Hey, you can hear me and see me, right? I had my internet go off again, but we should be good now. Hi, love that.
Yeah, we're so glad to have you. And one of the many things that I love about you is right before we came on air, you're just like laughing. What was so funny?
Well, what was funny? I mean, a lot of things. You warned.
Up. I think you froze up a little bit, maybe on your end there. Yep. Oh, there you are. Yeah, there. Technology is great, when it works. Anyone in the audience know anything about technology? We'd appreciate the help.
Yes, I'm sure your audience knows a bit about technology. So.
Yeah, indeed. And boy, speaking of knowing, a lot about technology, let's introduce our second special guest, Kristen Kehrer. Hi, how you doing, Kristen?
Hi, I'm good. Happy to be here.
We're incredibly happy to have you. And, also you are a living example of what life is like for most Americans, having to strike this kind of work-life balance with your 3-year-old son. How's work-life balance going for you?
So I had just messaged Gary before this because my son is in daycare, and so I have a 6-year-old and a 3-year-old, but my 3-year-old was apparently exposed to a positive COVID case. So he will be out of school until the 19th, and I will have to make adjustments to my schedule to be available to hang out with him during the day.
Aww.
Yeah. Time.
One of the, unintended sort of green sprouts, if you will, from this whole, insane experiences, I think all of us have an additional insight and appreciation to, what our educational system provides and our great teachers. So big shout out to all of our teachers, because I think now, we probably understand a lot more about it than we did before. Is that fair, Kate?
Oh, absolutely. Yes. So my kids, I have a 6-year-old and almost 5-year-old, and they've both been home since March of 2020. So it's a little over a year now that they've not left the house. And yes, homeschooling has become a pretty big part of our day-to-day. And yes, I definitely miss the schools. I miss the teachers. They do a great job at putting up with all of the kids. I truly have no idea how they do it, especially now with Zoom. It's even more difficult because kids, mute themselves, they walk off, their feet are on the tables, and they're trying their best to control the situation. I've been lucky enough that the teachers have been, oh, look, I got a
Congrats, Kate.
Okay, wait. Now tell our audience why are you laughing? Okay.
So you warned us before the show that we have to earn the wows and the takes. I'm working hard, man.
And it's really, really working great. Because you're saying something that almost everyone has had some aspect of their life change dramatically, because of this. And I wanted to validate how smart you are.
Thank you. So yeah, so the staying at home thing actually happened almost at the exact same time as me going off on my own with Dedicated. So it all kind of happened together, where it's one big change that I just had to embrace. But definitely great, really good things came out of it, like actually seeing my kids all day long versus dropping them off at school and then seeing them after 2:30 p.m.
Yeah, for sure. So you mentioned Dedicated. Tell our audience about that.
So dedicated means being dedicated to data, with also the additional sound of my name, Kate, kind of in there. But I don't remember exactly how the word came about, but the company now, Dedicated, serves the data community in various ways. There's the Dedicated Academy that provides data visualization training, data storytelling training. There is the Dedicated Conference, which essentially is a free online conference hosted very much like this on LinkedIn Live, where the next one's coming up in May, free to attend if people are interested. And then I also provide media partnerships that essentially help amplify the message for some companies that are working in the data science, AI, machine learning space, just to share their message with a broader audience.
So tell us a little bit about your origin story.
My origin? So
Yeah.
it was a cold day in Tajikistan. Sit back, everybody. We're gonna
All right, hold it. Time out. All right. I'll do the humor and then you do the substance. That way we kind of stay in our lanes.
I have no lane, man. So how far back do I go? Which origin? The data origin? The dedicated origin? Both?
Well, it's up to you.
All right. Well, fast forward from Tajikistan. I'm now in America. I go to school, finish school, get a job in a bank in risk management. Fast forward to consulting. End up. So I'm expecting my first child, and I remember at that time I was at Deloitte, and I wanted to work from home because my theory was I'm going to have this child. I kind of want to see this child. At least a little bit, right? So the consulting gig was amazing at providing me with a lot of work experience, but it was, every night we had to work long nights, every weekend it was work and travel, and I simply couldn't imagine a life. Yes, totally distracting. I love it. I keep thinking it's my connection, Gary.
I told you, don't get distracted if you see something like that.
You warned me. I'm still going to get distracted, but either way, I went to Deloitte and I said, basically, I'd love to work from home. And fast forward a long 9 months of being pregnant whilst looking for a work from home job, I ended up going into working with data, with Deloitte's data and insight strategy. So that was kind of my entry to the data world about 7 years ago. And I fell in love and been in love with data ever since.
And you seem to like running, according to Ron Craig.
Oh, yes. So earlier in March, I did the David Goggins challenge where you basically run 4 miles every 4 hours for 48 hours straight without much sleep in between.
Oh my God.
Yeah, that was fun. The nights were cold. It was like 20 degrees in New York. For some reason, it was warm before, it was warm the week before and the week after, but that week was really cold. It even snowed at some point. But yes, I'm fully recovered. All good now. Thanks, Ron.
Oh, that's really, really funny. And so tell us your origin story.
Oh, my origin story. So, normally I say that I had like a very traditional path into data science, and I've been reflecting on that recently, and it's not even true. I graduated in the 75th percentile of my high school class, so I was not a star student.
Wait, I want to give you just a bravo for owning that, because there are many ways to become educated, and good for you for all the C students out there.
But yeah, so then I went to my undergrad. So I come from a blue collar family, first generation college graduate, and my parents' understanding of math was sort of being able to make change. They didn't really understand what higher level math really looked like, but they figured that if you studied math, you could get a good job. So actually my parents applied for me and my brother to go to school for math. And so
excuse the interruption 1 second, because we have like a human insight that just kind of came up. I don't know what to say about that comment, but do you, Kate, want to quickly opine about that?
So
these are probably these are your friends. These are your friends, so that you know.
Yeah. Yep. Nope. And I'm not day drinking.
All right. Glad to hear
I
it.
have water, Gary. This is water, I promise.
Yeah. I mean, I love seltzer.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
hi, Susan.
Yeah. Hi, Susan. How are you? So yeah, so I got a bachelor's degree in mathematics with a 3.8 GPA in my major, and I did it in 3 years, basically by going to like 7 hours of tutoring a week.
Wow.
Obsessed.
Wow.
And then I graduated from school, caused a lot of trouble.
Can you tell me what was your GPA, if you don't mind?
So it was 3.8 in my major and 3.5 all around.
Is that out of 10?
Out of 4.
Oh, okay, that's really good
No,
then.
it was good. It was good. It was good. I like I sort of like turned a corner, and then I finished my bachelor's degree, and I turned another corner, and got in like a lot of trouble, and had a gap on my resume, and got sober in 2006, and went and got a master's degree in 2007 in statistics at WPI, which is actually has pretty good name recognition and has made like all the difference in my career. And so then I, worked in the utility industry doing econometric time series analysis and forecasting. And then I worked in healthcare for a little bit, again, as an analytics consultant. And then I spent about 6 years in e-commerce, marketing analytics, advanced analytics, and data science. Yeah. And so then I started a blog because, just like Kate, I was hoping to work remote. I had searched for remote work for 3 years, and everything I got offered was at least $40,000 less than what I was making. And so I don't know, I started a blog, and it did well. And by January of 2019, so about 9 months later, I was able to leave corporate. And in 2019, I basically was able to match what I was making in corporate, but working.
Wow. Was it scary to make that change?
I'm a crazy person. So I was like 100% excited. I have like all the confidence in the world that like if I fell on my face that I was just going to be okay. Like it's just been my life experience that like you fall down on your face and you get back up, so I wasn't too scared of making that leap.
Well, I can tell you, your reputation, and Kate, I mean, you are thought leaders in this incredibly complicated and super important aspect of life, which artificial intelligence and data science and ML touches everything. And I guess you're both good mothers, right? I mean, you're mothers of data science. Tell us about that.
So Gary, I do want to tell you that you are lucky because Kate and I have not yet gotten together to talk about our book yet. So
let's do that then.
Yeah. And so ironically, we launched it in like the first week or two of COVID, thinking, life's going to come back. And it was this super awesome book about, how women are navigating this male dominated field. And then I left the workforce for months. But Kate, what do you have to say?
Yeah, so I think, let's hear the story of how this book came about. Maybe start there. Basically, Kristen and I met through LinkedIn. I don't remember the exact way our paths crossed, but I do remember chatting with her and realizing that we had some things in common. Like we wanted to work remotely. We wanted to build our own schedules, our own careers without having to depend on an employer. Our kids are similar ages, and we're kind of like we're in a similar space in this data world. And then I was like, it'd be fun to write a book about mothers in data science. And the plan was initially to just share my story and her story kind of together in a book. And the more we thought about it, we're like, maybe we should bring in other voices, because when we would speak about it, other mothers are like, oh, wow, I have a great story to share. How do I take part? And I remember clearly going to Kristen. I'm like, hey, we should also include this person. And she's like, well, maybe we should just interview them versus making them all co-authors. I'm like, oh, yeah, that actually
makes sense. I love it.
So that's the path we went on. And I actually have the book here as well. And we've interviewed some pretty amazing mothers, and we were really lucky to even get time on their calendars. And they shared some really, really powerful stories of what they went through. And it's interesting because each of the mothers that we ended up interviewing has a very unique experience, right? So they have kids in either it's a different country or different ages. We have at least one grandmother in the book. So Grandmothers of Data Science. That's the sequel.
Two, right?
Grandmother, yeah.
That's great.
Yes.
Well, I just love everything about your mission, and well, we seem to have some breaking news here. What's going on the bottom here, Kate?
I missed the beginning part of it, but
it says the U.S. is not organizing or investing to win the technology competition against a committed competitor, nor is it prepared to defend against AI-enabled threats. That sounds not very good.
Where are you getting your sources, Gary? Where's this coming?
Well, that's a really interesting question, and I appreciate you saying that. And I had a feeling that, this might come up. So let me show you. This is what kind of why our team decided to do this show, including the two of you. About 2 weeks ago or so, this report was presented to Congress by this commission of people. It's led by Eric Schmidt of Google, and all these incredible people contribute over a 2-year period. A 756-page report, and we were fortunate to have on a previous show one of the technical advisors, one of the lead authors of it, and that's what kind of got me thinking about all this stuff, and here's just a little excerpt of the way that they think about this report. And what was stunning to me as a complete novice in all of this stuff are the ramifications, just like what we're talking about, and really the value system, about how do you get big data, and let's say China versus United States and all that stuff. So that happened to be my source, and to our audience, that was not scripted. That was just good luck. Don't ask me for sources, because I won't have anything other than listening and learning to the smartest people in the world and attending 53 cybersecurity conferences in the period of 3 years. So that's where I picked up, some of this stuff. But what do you think about that? What do you think about, let's just say, big data and data science and nation states?
Yeah, interesting you bring that up. First of all, with all your little tags and stuff, you should totally take a picture with Scott Taylor and see who has more conference badges, because he also posts publicly. He's got quite a bit. So in terms of the state of that, I'm listening to this audiobook right now by Kai-Fu Lee about the differences. I forget the exact name of it, but is the differences between how China and the United States are, like, where we are in the state of AI. And it's very, very interesting to see where things are going, right? I mean, clearly I'm not fact checking all the stuff that this guy is saying in the book, but if everything that he's saying is correct, it seems like China is definitely on the road to maybe innovate a bit quicker, like in the future, because of the way their infrastructure is built and the way their government is set up. Not sure if you guys have heard about this, but the government basically subsidizes things like rent. So if you're going to work on X project that we want to innovate in, your rent is free.
Right.
And clearly that's going to motivate a lot of entrepreneurs to go into that direction. The other aspect that I found interesting was in terms of technology in general. In China, the laptops or personal computers weren't as available to the general public as they were in the United States. So most people have actually skipped the personal computer route and have ended up with a cell phone, right? So everything is kind of, all their apps are built mobile first, versus now several US companies are trying to shift from being computer first into mobile. So that's why we're kind of lagging in that area. But those are truly all my thoughts on this topic. So I'll pass it over to Kristen.
Well, just to build on that, just for 1 second, excuse
Yeah.
Kristen the interruption. As it happens, on Tuesday of this week on our show, we featured the brand new report from Verizon about mobile threats. And we had the chief cybersecurity evangelist, on the show talking about the challenges associated with mobile security, as well, and all the attack vectors and all that stuff. Kristen, so let's move back a little bit to the mission of your book. What were some of the key kind of takeaways or common themes and things that you heard from these very diverse people who have that one important thing in common of being mom?
Yeah, so I think over the last year, the points that I've reflected on most came from Kathy O'Neill and Carla Gentry. They said very specific things that just really resonated with me. Carla we made a whole chapter for her story, but long story short, the theme or my takeaway from that is, don't let work overtake your life, because later your kids will be older and you'll want them to want to spend time with you. And so I've done a lot of thinking about that. And then when we were speaking to Kathy O'Neill, she was talking about how, there's not a ton of data science initiatives that are really for social good.
Right.
And, she believes that we're either going to go the way of a social credit score, like China, or we'll find ways to, do data science for social good. And so it really made me reflect on, my 10-year career, because as she's saying this, I'm like, no, Kathy, you don't understand. I love what I'm doing and it's great. And I explained this model I was building, and she's like, yeah, but I don't want your ads, because at the end it was, getting people to still use a product, still motivating customers to purchase a product. And she's like, well, maybe I don't want to be bombarded with those messages. And, so it just made me think about my role that I play in data science and where I'm situated and how I can have a better impact. And I actually am taking up some volunteer projects currently. But it was also just an awesome opportunity. I think, I don't know if this is exactly how Kate looked at it, but I looked at it as wow, it's an opportunity for Kate and I to sit down with some amazing women and just get their perspective on things like, what were the biases that you experienced being a woman in data science? And
let's stay on that one point, because I'm so glad you brought that up. Forgive the interruption, but one of the things that I just sort of heard tangentially, but would love for both of you to share your wisdom on, is this notion of let's say racial bias, on in face recognition, algorithmic models and things like that. Is that a thing?
Well, yeah, so actually Kathy O'Neill, who I was just talking about, she has a book, Weapons of Math Destruction, which actually hits on that exact thing and talks about how, the algorithms for hiring people are highly biased, and it's going to perpetuate those biases, and the way that police officers are staffed in certain areas just perpetuates racial biases. And it's a damn shame that we don't have crime data that's clean enough for people to use. But so yes, absolutely. So those exist, but I'm talking more about, the comment from your boss telling you hey, should you change your LinkedIn photo? Is that what an analyst looks like? Or, those types of things that, if you're a woman in data science, you've absolutely, in grad school and in my first job, I was told, that I had been given preference because I was a woman. And then you go and speak at conferences, and the conference says oh, hey, we asked you because we needed more women. And then you speak on the women the diversity and data panel, and you realize that it's going on at the same time as a panel with all the keynote speakers. You know, it's those little pieces, and those are all my life. That's all stuff that I've experienced. And then, you know, you talk to other women and you just see, you know, how these experiences have sort of shaped the way that they view their job and everything else.
Wow. I mean, it's hard enough just to be successful at whatever endeavor people go after, you know, in their lives, but then to have sort of this built-in kind of resistance in the way you're describing, you know, must be incredibly difficult. Kate, you want to share your thoughts on that?
I'm fine.
Kristen. That's, yeah, so interestingly, I personally haven't had as many direct experiences. I mean, there are definitely a couple where if I had a promotion or something and there was another person at that same level, and a comment he'd make is like, oh, well, it's because you're a girl. And I'm like, well, is it though? Maybe because I'm better than you. But I think some women might get discouraged and internalize that and say, oh my God, maybe it really is because I'm a woman. But I feel like I'm different in the sense where I'm like, no, I know for a fact I worked hard and I earned that. So it didn't impact me as much. But again, hearing from other women where, again, you know, like they were contacted to be told, we need another woman on the panel, so that's why we're contacting you. That must truly hurt because you're like, well, you only want me because I'm a woman. And to that point, I did have one person reach out to me. This was probably 2-3 years ago. It was for a really great role. But at the time, I was already planning to go off on my own. And I'm like, I don't really want to entertain going to work for somebody else. But I knew of a equally qualified person that's close to me that was looking for a job actively. So I said, hey, I'm not interested, but here's this person who happens to be a man. And he's like, well, no, we really just wanted a woman. So I'm like, great. So we definitely do get things like that, which I do think is going to be less common in the future as we see more women in this space. But I also remember the conversation with, I believe it was Kathy, right, Kristen, where we asked her, we're all like excited. We're talking to Kathy O'Neill. So tell us, why should women get into this space? And we're so excited and positive because we've had great experiences overall. We love this space. Mm-hmm. And she's like, why would you want to be here? This place.
Wow.
We're looking for happy message. So it was unexpected, but her points were accurate, right? She's like, you're, you know, maybe working on things that are not helping the greater good. You're working with all these biases in the algorithm, because clearly that's her life's work, right? Algorithmic bias and all that. It definitely made me think. I'm like, yeah, I guess we had a good experience, but a lot of people who've shared stories in our book might have not had that same positive experience.
Yeah, indeed. And so this, what I'm about to ask was not planned, but would the two of you be open to giving a free copy of your book to like the first person who responds to this message that I'm about to post?
Yeah, sure. We'll send a copy.
Okay, let's see what happens. Calling rapid responders. And the first one who responds today is going to get a free copy of that wonderful book. You know, we have to take this show on the road. I mean, this is very high quality, really.
Company logos too.
I noticed that first thing when I got on. I was like, look at us.
Yeah. So the way you do this to get your free copy of the book is to respond in the comments tab, and then we'll send you a copy of the book. I can't wait to read it. I didn't get it yet for some reason. I don't know if it's the mail or what, but I did at least get it.
To you.
Yeah. No, I know. I'm incredibly interested in it. And look, the two of you are just rock stars. That's obvious, you know, and also, you know, sort of overcoming or dealing with such a male-dominated, you know, ecosystem to be able to excel the way you have is amazing.
Can I say something too that I think is really important? Because I talked about being on a diversity panel, and then it sort of became like, oh, the diversity panel is like this negative thing, and it wasn't. I think conferences themselves need to do a better job of making sure that it doesn't conflict with things that involve the keynote speakers. But at the same time, I truly believe that representation matters. I would always say yes, because I know that there are some people who say no because they're offended that they were asked just because they were a woman. But if there's like just two people in the room that maybe leave with a different perspective, worth it, and so I think that that's like important to say, is that, I think that like representation is important, and I'm always happy to speak on those panels.
Yeah, indeed. And so as we're kind of wrapping up here, I know, Kristen, you have to take care of your wonderful son, and Kate, I'm sure the same is true for you. Is there anything you'd like, Kate, to share with our audience about your journey, about your mission, all the cool stuff you're doing? You have a great show, great podcast that you host. You want to tell our audience about that?
Yeah, sure. Happy to. So it's a good lead in, because Kristen, you mentioned representation and those diversity panels. I'll just quickly share my thoughts, which I guess not everyone seems to agree with, but I still want to point this out. So a lot of times you'll go to a conference and you'll see on the agenda, it'll be like, okay, you'll hear about this and about this. And then there's a women in data panel or something, women something. So every time I see this, I'm like, why can't we just drop the word women, make it an all women panel, but just drop the word women, and then have people just see it as, wow, look at all these smart people. Oh, they happen to be women. Great. We never have, and probably never will, say men in data, or like men who are rock stars in machine learning. It's like, because we just assume like, oh yeah, whatever, they're just there. So that's just my quick thing of I think how we can come off as being more powerful in that representation is dropping the word women, and then having other people see women in those roles. Because personally, I remember sitting in the audience, this is before data, this is in risk management. There was this kick-ass woman, I think she was from the Federal Reserve or something. She was giving a talk, and I was in the audience, and so she gave a great speech. She got off stage and she's like, oh, I gotta hop. I have like a flight or something. She just had to run. She didn't have time to chat. And I was so inspired. And it was because it was never brought up as, oh, look, it's a woman and she can speak. It's like, okay, and?
Right.
Like, yeah, those are just my thoughts. So I wanted to share that.
No, those are great thoughts. And tell our audience the name of your podcast, or how to get more information about the cool stuff you're doing.
Yeah, so a couple of things. One is the Dedicated conference that's coming up May 18th to 19th this year, 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. Eastern. And you can sign up if you go to dedicated.com and click on conference, or dedicated.com/conference. This is how you spell dedicated, in case you don't know. And then
can people buy a pillow?
You can buy a pillow, you can buy t-shirts, hoodies, mugs, you can clothes for puppies. We've got everything.
I love it.
That's dedicated.com. You can find all that. But I also do have a podcast and a live show called Dedicated. Several sessions planned for this month, for next month. Basically, at least a couple of shows a week that we run on different topics. So.
Yeah, and I can tell you firsthand, they're terrific. Kate, you're a wonderful thought leader. Thank you so much for everything you do. And we have, a little bit of a surprise for you. This is the first time I've showed this on air. So welcome to the Cyber Hero Adventures Network. And we kind of thought it'd be super cool to use the word network because it has a double meaning, to be sure. I mean, it's like a little bit like broadcast, if you can call what we're doing here that, which I wouldn't, but, it's all DevOps. But also to, interact with one another, welcome aboard, whether you like it or not.
Thank you. I love it. Awesome.
So, Kristen, what final last thoughts do you have? Anything you want to amplify to make sure, our audience thinks about or learns?
Yeah, no, I just thank you so much for having me. And, I have the Data Moves Me blog. And so if you want to check that out, I'm there talking about relevant topics in data science with an emphasis on being able to communicate with the business.
Yeah, and you are a wonderful communicator and also, a wonderful, thought leader. And it's really just a privilege to spend time with you. And oh, what luck! Our director is really something. It's called my right hand versus the left hand, but it would be dangerous. If anyone wants to help, welcome aboard. We'd love help. So anyways, welcome aboard. So on behalf of a grateful digital universe, thanks so much for everything that you do. If you in our audience want to be on the show, just send a note to Gary at cyberherocomics.com. And I hope everyone stays safe and healthy and get your vaccine shots. Okay, bye.
Bye. Thank you.